Oh my God. And we're live. It has been a while. It has been a little while. Hello, everybody. Just waiting for the room to fill out a little. In the meantime, you can watch me smoke my pipe. And you can see what we're talking about by just checking my shirt out right now. That's my Misfits shirt. Proud Misfits fan. And I have a very obscure Misfits tattoo. It's actually a Captain Harlock tattoo, which is the shirt that Glenn Danzig used to wear when he was a younger man and performed with the legendary goth band, the Misfits. Now, some people out there might be wondering, Paul, what are your qualifications? What are your special qualifications to talk about Glenn Danzig and talk about the Misfits? Well, I directed a film about 10 years ago called Living the American Nightmare, Story of a Rock Star. And it was the singer of the Misfits for one summer, Mike Hideous, was my star. I had Bobby Steele, former guitar player for the Misfits, in the same movie. He was another big name for me. Franche Coma and Mr. Jim, two members of the original Misfits lineup, were in it. I currently work with Michael Graves, who does Radio Deadly on censored.tv. So go to censored.tv, use promo code GRAVES. We're there every Thursday, every week with new, fresh content. Michael has a lot to say. He's conservative. He's anti-woke. He's very right-wing, very patriotic guy. And he is the guy who, I hadn't talked to him in a long time, got back together and started producing his show for him. I have met Glenn Danzig. I've seen his show probably a dozen times. I've seen the Misfits without Danzig probably another dozen times. I've seen Danzig play a Sam Haines set. I've seen Danzig play with Doyle, one of the other guitar players. I was actually in the at Chiller Theater. They have a big convention. It's like a horror convention, pop culture convention. And when I was promoting the movie, we were in the Misfits room with Doyle and Chud and Eerie Vaughn and Michael Graves and Mike Hideous and Bobby Steele and all these fucking associated people. And the Misfits are really unique. Misfits fans are really unique because we love punk, but punk just isn't hardcore enough for us. So we like horror punk. We like how far can you go? How far can you take it? And every Misfits song is basically like a horror movie in one way or another. Now, if you indulge me, Glenn Danzig is trending today. Why is Glenn Danzig trending? Well, let's read from loudwire.com right now. This is from loudwire.com. The Misfits definitely have some controversial songs in their catalog, and Glenn Danzig doesn't think bands would be able to get away with releasing such material now. No shit. He says a punk explosion wouldn't happen in today's culture because of woke bullshit. Well, he's not wrong, but let's read some quotes from Glenn. When they talk about the song Last Caress, take Last Caress, for example, it touches on killing babies and raping mothers. It's just a crazy-ass song, Glenn says. We would do things just to piss people off. Glenn admitted to Rolling Stone magazine, adding that we won't have any new bands releasing songs like that because they'll immediately get canceled. I don't know. What do you think? Oh, you don't say. By the way, that's not me. You don't say, says the 12-year-old girl who wrote this on loudwire.com. Seriously, we'll get to that in a minute. Glenn goes on to say, people don't understand because everything's so cancel culture, woke bullshit nowadays. You could never have a punk explosion nowadays because of cancel culture and woke bullshit. He goes on, you can never have it. It would never happen. We're lucky it happened when it did because it'll never happen again. You won't have any of those kinds of bands ever again. Everyone's just so uptight and PC. It's just like, okay, whatever. Now, Glenn has a pretty good point. Now, I want to also touch on this here. The author of this article, who has a cunty tone throughout, a cunty tone. She writes, then there are those who believe the Misfits were never that controversial to begin with. Sure. I'm sure this girl, by the way, is super edgy in all her little punked out hair and her little punky clothes that she wears. And then she writes, and then she adds all these comments. See the tweets below. The rock community aren't here for back in my day crap, says some bitch named Sophie. Give it a rest, says somebody with an illegible name. The days of sexual assault, abusing, drugs, and rock and roll are over. It's all about consensual sex, positive presence, and rock and roll. Isn't that nice? Oh my God, it's rock and roll your mom could listen to with you. Isn't that just special? He means it wouldn't have happened with his band and the other edgelord bands that also sucked. Parentheses, by the way, Sex Pistols. Really? Punk would have been fine. Clash would have been there, and there would have been a lot of good bands. Let me tell you something right now, my friend. Joe Strummer would have kicked your fucking ass. I know that for a fact. Yet another old man who thinks being punk is not about community. When they say community, that is code word. That's a dog whistle, as they like to say, for communism. Calling out bad shit when it's in front of everyone, ignoring it, nice writing, asshole, and fighting for the little guy. This man knows nothing punk. Glenn Danzig, hear that? Jake Aspie, a guy with 12 followers, says Glenn Danzig, Lodi's favorite son, Glenn Danzig, founder of the Misfits, Glenn Danzig, writer of some of the greatest punk albums, one after the other of all fucking time. He doesn't know punk as well as Jake Aspie, a guy who doesn't even have a picture on his Twitter thing. Isn't that great? The same platform that is screaming cancel culture, Fox News, is the same platform that told me as a kid I shouldn't be listening to metal or punk. Welcome to the Twilight Zone. Stick it up your ass. If you allow cancel culture and wokeness to prevent you from being you, you're not punk. That's an interesting take on it. Maybe we'll get back into that in a moment. So that's all what this girl put in her article for Loudwire from an interview with Rolling Stone magazine. Now, if I may, I'd like to read just a little bit from the song Last Caress for you guys, in case you're not familiar with it. They are, by the way, classic lyrics, classic American lyrics. Ready? This is Last Caress. I got something to say. I killed your baby today, and it doesn't matter much to me as long as it's dead. Well, I got something to say. I raped your mother today, and it doesn't matter much to me as long as she spread. Sweet, lovely death, I am waiting for your breath. Come, sweet death, one last caress. And it's sang in such a beautiful tone when Glenn does it. He makes, that's the beauty of the Misfits and Glenn, because Glenn has that Elvis-y, bluesy voice that he likes, you know? And he takes that Elvis-y, bluesy thing that he does, and he juxtaposes it over brutal lyrics. Here's another one of his songs, Astro Zombies. Oh, all I want to know, all I want. With just one touch of the burning hand, I sent my ass. Ooh, wow, my singing is really off. My tone is really off. You guys, fucking. With just one touch of the burning hand, I send my astro zombies to rape the land. Prime directive, exterminate the whole human race. And oh my God, I'm sorry, the lyrics. And your face drops in a pile of flesh, and then your heart pounds till it pumps in death. Prime directive, exterminate whatever stands left. All I wanted to say, all I gotta do. Who'd I do this for? Hey, me or you? That's the lyrics for another Misfits song. That's Glenn Danzig. That's Astro Zombies. Now, my question is this. If he took all the gore out of all his lyrics, would they really be Misfits lyrics? Would we pay attention? Part of, for me, the evolution of being a punk, okay, was when I heard a song. And by the way, some of these songs were very left-wing. Some of these songs are from a band called Anti-Flag, which is basically a communist fucking band. Another band is the Dead Kennedys, very far leftist band. But when I would hear lyrics from Anti-Flag. Like, you gotta die for your government, die for your country, that shit. Now, I don't agree with that. I didn't quite agree with it back in the day. I grew up, but it got my attention because I remember thinking in that song in particular, can you say that? Are you allowed to say that in a fucking song? Wow, these guys have balls. Same thing with Dead Kennedys. Same thing with the Sex Pistols. She was a girl from Birmingham. She just had an abortion. Sex Pistols, one of the bands that started what we all know as punk today. And here's the thing. My very good friend, the beautiful, lovely Lady Alchemy, Martina Marcotta, coined a phrase that was stolen from by Paul Joseph Watson, by the way. Conservative is the new counterculture. Conservative is the new counterculture. They've never been more right than today, because now today, even the old punk rockers like Johnny Rotten this past week was just shitting on wokeness and woke culture and going, oh my God, give me a break with this. Johnny Rotten said that he voted for Donald Trump. Johnny Rotten said that Joe Biden has dementia. Glenn Danzig is now coming out in the news going, this woke shit, this cancel culture, it would have killed punk rock. Now, here's the thing. Here's the little dirty secret. Maybe you don't like punk rock. Maybe you don't like the Misfits. That's fine. You're allowed to be wrong. But here's the thing that you have to understand about punk rock. It changed everything. Whether you like it or not, whether that's your cup of tea, it changed everything. Without punk, there'd be no grunge. And by the way, I don't know, and if you're into butt rock, if you're into Nickelback and Stained and all these ballless fucking bands, now that's cool too. All these bands that have never said a controversial thing in their lives. Oh, goody for you. Okay, whatever. I guess you don't have to. But those bands wouldn't be here either if it wasn't for the Ramones and the Sex Pistols. The KKK took my baby away. Bodies. Fucking all. God Save the Queen. Holy shit. These were songs that caused controversy. Controversy made these people what they are because they were able, as outcasts, okay, real outcasts, not I'm communist and I don't like capitalism and I wish I had everything handed to me. These were people who said, leave me the fuck alone. Leave us alone. We're going to do whatever we want. Well, you can't even fucking play guitar. Fuck you. I'm going to play 2 chords and I'll write better songs than you ever did. And by the way, my name's Johnny Ramone. And by the way, I'm a fucking Republican. That's what these kids from Queens, kids from Brooklyn. Now, keep in mind, I'm also very partial to Misfits because I come from the area. I come from like the border of Lodi, New Jersey. These are kids, suburban people, working class. Everyone's dad was a construction worker or a truck driver in these towns, okay? And they came from that area. And they never were told you could be anything more than that. But they said, you know what? We like, what are you into? You guys are the freaks. You guys are dressing all in black and you're being weird. Glenn Danzig's drawing pictures and comic books and he's reading weird Japanese comics like Captain Harlock. He's doing all this fucking shit, right? At least I get my greens. He's doing all this shit, and everyone, his teachers, everybody's going, you're not going to be anything. What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? You're not going to be anything. And he was so cool that he got the football players in his school, the Caffiaro brothers, Jerry Caffiaro, and Paul Caffiaro, who everyone now knows as fucking Doyle. These are the guys who were playing football. Glenn wasn't a ball player. Okay, then these guys come in because now he's the cool guy. He's reading the comics. He's doing all the weird. I'm dressing in black. I'm doing my hair weird and all this other shit. And everyone started copying him. Why? Because Glenn Danzig gives no fucks. And that is what punk rock is about. He doesn't give a fuck if you think he's conservative. He doesn't give a fuck if he's not communist enough. He doesn't give a fuck if he's a millionaire. If Glenn goes up to you and you go, oh yeah, our venue wants Glenn to play, and Glenn goes, yeah, I want $1 million and I want 2 cans of Campbell's soup and I'm going to show up a half hour late and I'm going to do like, why does he do that? Is it because he's a diva? Is it because, no, he really isn't. I've met the guy. He's a very nice guy. He's fucking awesome. But here's the thing about Glenn. He doesn't care about you. He's almost like Jerry Seinfeld in a weird way, like the real Jerry Seinfeld, who just, like, if you go to hug Jerry, he's just like, get away. Like, that's Glenn. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck if he yells at you and hurt your feelings. He doesn't give a fuck if you don't like his lyrics. He's going to write whatever the fuck he wants to write because he's Glenn Danzig, and he became a fucking millionaire being Glenn Danzig. And if he did what these woke fucks told him to do, he wouldn't be the guy he was, which means there would be no Rob Zombie. There'd be no Marilyn Manson. There would be no, I would even say, like, no Guns N' Roses. There'd be none of these grungy bands if it wasn't for down and dirty punk rock. Okay. And now keep in mind, Slash could play a million notes a minute. He's one of the greatest guitar players of all time. He didn't play like the Misfits per se, but it wasn't about that. It was about the song they covered from the Misfits, Attitude. And that is what's missing from punk rock today. That's what's missing from all entertainment and all music today. Attitude. Okay? None of these fucks have attitude. Hold on one second. It's just how the gods kill. Absolutely. Glenn doesn't give a fuck. Glenn has that chip on his fucking shoulder, which used to be a good thing. For a moment in time, for a flash in time, that was a good thing. But now here's the problem. People of Glenn's generation were more hardcore than the generation before them. And they're more hardcore than the generation that preceded them. So now they're stuck in this weird thing where the, guys who were older than them all said, oh, they're too loud, they're too crazy, they're too edgy. They weren't being edgelords. They literally invented this shit. They said, how far can we go? So let me ask a burning fucking question here. I have a few questions, but I'm going to start with this one. Why don't articles like this go after movies? Why doesn't this same writer, I believe she's an 11-year-old girl, go after The Walking Dead? Why doesn't she go after Game of Thrones? Wow, Game of Thrones has a lot of violence in it, doesn't it? Has a lot of rape in it, right? Now, when Glenn says these words, when he sings these words, I got something to say, boom, boom, I killed your baby today. Does he manifest that? Does a baby die somewhere in the world? No. Why not? Because they're just words. And here's the thing that we don't tell anyone anymore. Words can't hurt you. I got something to say. I raped your mother today. Did somebody's mother get raped? Because is the audio coming out of Glenn Danzig's voice so strong that it will manifest a horrific act happening somewhere in the world? Well, it's close. He has a pretty good fucking voice. But it's not that good. Nobody's voice is that good that the words, the audible noises and vibrations coming from your lips could cause something terrible to happen. Life doesn't work that way. Words can't hurt you. Words can't hurt you. It used to be called, another way to say that is not giving a fuck. Not giving a fuck. If you don't give a fuck about what other people think of you, which was supposed to be punk rock, which the guy in the article who's going, oh, bands like the Sex Pistols, who needs them? Suck my fucking dick. By the way, if you notice, that commie fuck who was talking about how punk rock should be about community, well, you know what? I'd like to know the musical genre that guy on Twitter fucking invented. Okay, because Johnny Rotten, now keep in mind, yeah, there was a lot building up to it in the pre-punk alternative era of music and the New York Dolls and the Stooges, and people argue with the Ramones, Sex Pistols. Well, here's the thing. It all led up to this crescendo in 1976 when we had the fucking launch of the Sex Pistols, never mind, the Bollocks album, and we had the launch of the first Ramones album, and then there was a punk explosion. There was the CBGB's fucking explosion that happened. And you know something that was funny about that period of time, let's say 76, 77, 78? If you look at that period of time, and they always talk about this on punk rock documentaries, punk rockers didn't look like they were all wearing a uniform at that time. They weren't all wearing just ripped jeans and leather jackets and trying to dress like the Ramones. No, You would get one guy wearing a fucking business suit covered in safety pins. You'd have a woman dressed as a cat lady. You'd have a fucking guy dressed as a vampire. You'd have another fucking guy with a fucking, watermelon on his head or something crazy like that. You had guys with long hair, guys with short hair, guys who would cut. But Johnny Rotten in particular used to purposely cut his hair uneven because the whole point was, I don't give a shit that my hair looks like shit. So it would be patches and crazy shit coming out because he's a punk rocker. He's not supposed to give a shit what other people think of him. This is a lost fucking art. This is a lost lesson. This is something you should start saying to hostile people in their hostile little faces. You should start saying to people, why do you give a shit what other people think of you? Why should I give a shit what you think of me? I don't give a shit what you think of me. That should be on our fucking flag. I don't give a shit what you think of me, because that was what punk was all about. It got co-opted by far leftists. That's what people don't realize. It originally wasn't. People would write songs about politics and shit like that in punk rock, but it was never like political. It was never like, this song is only for Democrats. Like, who? Ew. Ugh. Keep in mind, these people now on websites like Metal Injection and Loudwire and all metalsucks.com and all these music online mags and stuff like that basically are all the PMRC now. The people that John Denver and Dee Schneider, who is now, by the way, crazy woke as fuck for some reason, people like Frank Zappa, when they spoke out against censorship, want everyone to keep in mind, they were speaking out against the Democrats. The Democrats were the ones really pushing for the evil lyrics and stuff like that. And, ooh, these lyrics are bad or it's too sexual or satanic or whatever. By the way, I'm going to read another lyric here in a minute. But yeah, I just want to fucking say it's insane, the double standard that we have, because actors, as we all know, Hollywood is left as fucking left could be. And if you're not totally leftist, no one's going to give you the money to be in a movie, right? If you're not totally leftist, nobody's going to give you the money and pay you $20 million a picture. So everyone at least has to appear to be pretty much on the progressive side. Music's a little different, because once a band gets big, they can do whatever the fuck they want. Danzig doesn't need a label anymore. Most bands don't need a label. If the Sex Pistols said we're putting out a new album next week or whatever, and we're releasing it on YouTube and you could just pay us, or we're releasing it on our website, that album will do just fine, and they'll probably make more money doing that than going through a fucking label. I promise you that. Matter of fact, I know that for a fact, that bands don't make money on their records when they're signed to labels. They get a big advance, and then they're told to tour like a motherfucker, and then they get maybe a cut of the merch. If they're the Rolling Stones, they'll get like a bigger cut. But I digress. You never fucking hear about these same people writing a movie like Boys Don't Cry has a rape scene in it, right? Pretty graphic rape scene, actually, because of the message and this and that. And it's like, yeah, but you're actually taking an actress and ripping her pants down and getting behind her and doing things. Don't you think that's worse than just saying words? Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't be there. I think it all should be there. I would never try and censor anyone. Even if I hated their bullshit, I don't want to censor them. That's the difference, because I understand what freedom is. I understand what individuality is. I understand what truly not giving a fuck is. And I'm not perfect. I don't not give a fuck as much as Glenn Danzig doesn't give a fuck, or Johnny Rotten doesn't give a fuck. But I do my best to just simply not give a fuck about what other people say and what other people do and how other people are judging you. And that's the thing. It's like everything now is defined by these weird counterculture people who tell you that it is imperative to think a certain way about them. And you have to, whether it's a transgender issue, a gay issue, whether you're a punk, a communist, you have to, whether they're far left, you have to love their fucking point of view. And Nicholas writes, right, who's one to judge another's art? Absolutely. Listen, it's my right to say your art fucking sucks. It's your right to not like something. But here's the thing. When I don't like something, I just don't go check it out. Like when people were telling me about the Cardi B Wet Ass Pussy song, I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. They're like, it's the biggest song in the fucking country. Cardi B is the biggest. I didn't know what the fuck you meant by that. And then I had to I worked in a strip club, so they started playing it. And I would go, oh, this is what everyone's fucking talking about? Oh my God. And I would just tune it out when it came on. I didn't go off and I hate this fucking shit. I just oh, okay. This kind of a gross song if you think about it. And I don't think it's meant to be gross. I think it's meant to be sexy. So the desired effect is kind of falling on me. And I'm a guy who likes some wet ass pussy. But when I'm hearing her tone and her, yeah, you want my wet ass pussy, it's just no, not really. And then when I see a picture of her to go along with it, I'm just going, I don't want your wet ass pussy. I'm good. I'm good on that. But that's the thing. You can never satisfy these people, but they never judge film the same way, right? They never judge a horror movie the same way. That's all the Misfits did, was take horror movies and make them in musical form. And the Misfits, if you listen to their tonality, had this beautiful melodic sound to it, almost like an old-time horror movie, but sped it up, almost like a hardcore B-horror movie with a lot of blood. And when you hear the lyrics, it's putting pictures in your head, and Alien is, I turned into a Martian, whoa, and you're just going, wow, this is wow. And as a kid who loved horror movies, who loved gore, who loved rock and roll, who wanted to hear everything fast and hard, and also liked that Elvis bluesy voice, Glenn Danzig was where the fuck it was at for me. Well, yeah, everyone has the right to an opinion, just like everybody has the right to fuck right off. Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, there's another double standard I'd like to give an example of, besides in film, where you could say whatever you want in a film, right? You could say, if you're a white guy in a Tarantino movie, you could say the N-word all day because you're portraying the bad guy. I'm a slave owner, and you could yell the N-word and no one's gonna fucking say shit to you, and nor should they, by the way, because you're an actor in a movie, you're playing a role. But if just some rock star decided to do that, play a role, which is what all musicians do, that's how they're presenting their art. You're playing a role, you're whatever. You're not allowed to do that, according to these people, if you go against woke culture. Because keep in mind, 2 days ago, nobody gave a shit about what Glenn Danzig wrote back in 1978. But suddenly he does an interview with Rolling Stone where he's like, wokeness could blow it out its ass. It's bullshit. Cancel culture is bullshit. It would have killed punk rock, which he's 100% right. If you gave a shit, and that's what wokeness is. It's about giving a shit about what everyone else thinks and having a fucking hysterical meltdown when when they don't perceive you the way you wish to be perceived. Okay? Now, he's right about that. Here's some more lyrics I'd like to read. And please write down in the chat, the comments, and whatever we have here, if you know this song. I'm going to read the beginning of it. Journey with me into the mind of a maniac, doomed to be a killer since I came out the nutsack. I'm in a murderous mindset with a heart full of terror. I see the devil in the mirror. Buck, lights out. Cause when I get my sawed off, niggas get hauled off. Barrel 1. Touch your motherfucking flesh. Barrel 2, shoot your fucking heart out your fucking chest. You see, I'm quick to the hammer to go click. Oh, my Tech 9. Oh, hold up. Oh, my Tech 9. So if you try to wreck mine, fool, it's your bad time. Feel the blast of the chocolate bomber. Infrared aimed at your head like your name is Sarah Connor. Decapitating, I ain't hesitating to pull you into the funeral home with a bullet in your dome. I'm hot like lava. You got a problem? I got a problem solver, and his name is Revolver. Anyone know that song? Anyone know that song at all? Throw it in, man. No Idea metalhead. Well, I'm also a metalhead, but I do like hip hop. That was Dr. Dre and Ice Cube. That song's called Natural Born Killers. And I love that fucking song. And one of the most hardcore wrestlers of all time, New Jack from ECW, used to come out to that song. And I would hear the fucking lyrics and go, fucking hell yeah, man, this is what it's about. Now, do I think Dr. Dre and Ice Cube are going around shooting people? Or do I think they're condoning shooting people? Do I think they're condoning being murderers and doing all this shit? No. But it's like a Tarantino movie, but written as a hip-hop thing, right? It's like a Tarantino movie. It's like a Scorsese movie. That you put this in your lyrics to build this story, this picture, this character. And that's what rappers do. And you're never going to see a music magazine. You're never going to see Rolling Stone call that rapper out for his lyrics, are you? No. They're too scared. But if you're one of the, and they just go, wow, he's so hardcore. He's so edgy. Man, that's some gangster rap. I agree, man. I like that shit. I'm not going to lie, man. I drive around my fucking Jeep all the time blasting Dr. Dre. That is my fucking jam. I blast the Misfits too. I blast Rob Zombie. I blast Typo Negative. I blast Pantera. I love that, especially if you're going to the beach, it tops off the fucking car and you're fucking driving down. It's unreal, but that Dr. Dre is fucking unbelievable as a rapper. And he'll never get in trouble for it. He could say whatever he wants, except for, I don't think I'm voting Democrat anymore. That's the one unforgivable sin. Because I guarantee this, and Caitlyn Jenner, right, just said that they're running for governor as a Republican. Mark my words. Take this video, clip it, do whatever the fuck you got to do with it. This is not a prediction. This is a spoiler. Before that is done, before the Caitlyn Jenner running as a Republican in California is done, the left will say, Caitlyn Jenner is not even a real woman. Caitlyn Jenner is not really even trans because they don't ascribe to all the things they need to prescribe to and blah, blah, blah. Because I've heard it said with black people. I've heard it said with Jewish people. I've heard it said with people like Ben Shapiro. He's an Orthodox Jewish guy, always wears a yarmulke. Okay, that's his thing. Great. But they'll go, well, he's not really Jewish. He doesn't represent Jews. I'm like, what do you mean he doesn't? He's an Orthodox Jew. He's a religious, practicing Jew. And they go, no, he doesn't count. He doesn't count because he's not woke, because he doesn't believe the progressive things that so he's not representing the community, because in their mind, and this next sentence coming out of my mouth used to make people fucking explode. If you said something like this to a punk rocker or a metalhead back in the day, their veins in their head would fucking burst. You don't know what's best for you. They know what's best for you. That is their fucking credo. That's why when you say something about, like, I don't know, let's say Ben Carson or whatever, or Sheriff David Clark, or, Thomas Sowell, you could pick Candace Owens, any black conservative who shatters the narrative that they have that all black people are as leftist as we are, and they really aren't. But when you take those people and you go, well, you're standing up for black people. What about Ben Carson? He disagrees with you. What about Thomas Sowell? He disagrees, and you're a white guy, because most of these people, let's face it, are white. And you go, you're a white guy, and you're saying you represent this guy. This guy doesn't give a shit what you think. This guy says, you know how I got everything in my life that I ever wanted? I didn't listen to that motherfucker. I didn't listen to the motherfucker who told me I was a victim and I was oppressed, and I got out there and I took responsibility for my life. I did it myself. I had some dignity in my life. I had some pride, and I got out there and I fucking did it. Those people will turn around and go, that guy's not even really black. With no shame. With no shame. These people who judge everything on race, these white, dumb motherfuckers, will turn around and start judging black people who disagree with them, and judge who gets to be black, really black, and who doesn't. I remember, some of you might know, I've worked for Milo back and forth in the past. He's still a good friend of mine. My favorite Milo Yiannopoulos article of all time was an article that said Milo wasn't really gay because he doesn't believe all the things that the quote LGBTQ movement wants him to believe. Therefore, his homosexual status was taken away. somebody better tell all those dicks in his ass that, they don't count anymore. Because I thought to be gay, all you need to do was be a man attracted to another man. But apparently, no, you have to vote a certain way, ascribe to a philosophy. You have to say the words. Your Twitter needs to have pronouns. You need to stand up for this one and say that about this one. And if you don't do that, people who have nothing to do with you will tell you what the fuck you are, which is something I resent, which is something I think punk rockers fucking resent. It's something that I think conservatives this day and age, the modern conservative, call it what you want, libertarian, new right, whatever. I think it's something we all sort of fucking resent. We resent the fact that people are going to define us, that people look at us and go, you're a this because I said so. And unless you get in line and be obedient, you will never be what you want to be. And that could be something you just happen to be, whether it's Jewish, black, gay, trans. So I guarantee, this is my spoiler for Caitlyn Jenner's political career, they will say to Caitlyn Jenner at some point, you're not really trans. After spending years going, she is a woman and gorgeous and beautiful, and if you say she's not a real woman, she's as much as a woman. She's woman of the year. She's the... They will take that in 2 seconds. If she makes any headway in that fucking race, they will go, Bruce Jenner, you mean? That dude, yeah, just posing as a woman, and it will be hilarious. It will be fucking hilarious to watch that meltdown. But once again, you'll never hear hip-hop being criticized like that. You'll never hear movies and film with woke Hollywood being criticized. They can make fucking people's heads explode. They don't give a shit. But Glenn Danzig is and always will be the fucking GOAT. Because, and I've known this, and anyone who's known anyone around Glenn or met Glenn has known this for a very, 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 very long time, that Glenn Danzig gives no fucks. Glenn Danzig will fight a guy 10 times bigger than him, get knocked the fuck out on camera, and just go, whatever. Glenn Danzig will fucking talk shit about whoever. Glenn Danzig doesn't give a shit if he loses money. Glenn Danzig has everything he fucking needs. And by the way, all due respect to my whatever you call him, business partner and friend, Michael Graves, the second singer for the Misfits, because that's the other untold story here. Who here knows, add in the comments section below, if you know the Ballad of Michael Graves. I produce a show every Thursday. What about those rapist, racist hillbillies? They're not gay. I don't know. Are they gay? I think they're pretty gay. Your nuts are touching another guy's nuts. That's kind of gay. Michael Graves. Every Thursday, I produce a show for him called Radio Deadly with Michael Graves. It's on censored.tv. Promo code Graves. Go check it out. It's fucking awesome. And by the way, just as another little shout out, if you haven't done it already, and this is just a quick plug, at Radio Deadly on Twitter, follow him. He's rebuilding. Why would he be rebuilding? By the way, I'm rebuilding to at Bazile Pawl on Twitter. So follow both of us at Radio Deadly on Twitter, at Bazile Pawl on Twitter, and we'll give you all the latest fucking bullshit. But why is Michael Graves rebuilding his Twitter accounts? He was a pretty famous guy. He sang for Glenn Danzig's band, the Misfits. Well, he got canceled. Why did he get canceled? Because he did one of these. He held up the OK sign at a concert. Somebody took a picture. He tweeted the picture. And one of the hashtags he put was Proud Boys. And he put the I am a Western chauvinist thing and, whatever up there as well. Oh boy, did they go after him. Within 24 hours, every account that he spent the last 20 years building was taken down without warning. They didn't say, hey, if you take the picture down, you're allowed to have your account. They didn't say, hey, you're suspended. You've never been suspended before, but you're going to be suspended for whatever, a week, 30 days, which, by the way, all of that would have been preposterous too. But they said he was holding up a white power hand signal and he was endorsing a racist white supremacist group. And my whole thing is, says fucking you, motherfucker, because the only people who say that a group like the Oath Keepers, 3%ers, or the Proud Boys are racist are the people that don't like them. If you ask those guys, they're multicultural groups going, we want nothing to do with that fucking shit. But once again, the left likes being able to point and define you. And that's what woke culture is all about. And Michael Graves is a victim of it. Michael Graves is he's a Christian. He's very patriotic. He's former military. He was in the Marines after he was in the Misfits. So after he was famous, he was still famous. He joined the Marines. He, in basic training, had to leave because of a back injury. But they tried to cancel this guy from singing in public. They took away all his social media accounts. So he was making a lot of money, like selling T-shirts, or not millions, but he was making a good living doing things like that, playing out, selling T-shirts, selling albums, doing this. And he used to be able to just blast it off to his audience anytime he wanted because he had Twitter, he had Instagram and Facebook and everything like that. And within 24 hours, they went, he's anti-woke? Nope. And they delete it. So these motherfuckers who are commenting in this article, or on Twitter in this article, I should say, are the people who are fucking sitting there and literally saying, well, Glenn Danzig's not really a punk rocker. And if you're a punk rocker, you should be able to just do what you want anyway. And it's like, well, here's the thing. You should be able to just do what you want. But it's not always just about doing what you want and creating controversy, because obviously bands like that want to create controversy. But it's about having the ability and having people stand behind you to allow you to do it, which is why Antifa and other domestic terrorist groups like Black Lives Matter work so hard to deplatform people. And if you're a famous person like Michael Graves of the Misfits, and now Glenn Danzig of the Misfits, let's see, I've met a bunch of the Misfits. I've worked with a bunch of the Misfits. Are the Misfits all red-pilled, you think? I don't know. I'm not going to speak for them, but I don't think it would surprise me if they all were pretty fucking red-pilled and just said, yeah, we're conservative. We're pretty right-wing. Well, how could you be right-wing if you write songs about It's like freedom of speech, man. We like the amendments. We like guns. We like speech. We like to be judged and be able to defend ourselves. And that's the thing. They want to be able to judge you online, write an article about you, say you're a racist, and then when you go to defend yourself, go, hold on, this is bullshit. My account's already deleted. So now they just get to say what they want about you. They like a one-sided fist fight. Like they said in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, they like a rigged game. Halloween Kills, Mob Rules. Absolutely. They like a rigged game. These people like to tilt the fucking board. They don't want you to respond. They don't want you to react. They don't want to hear what you have to say. They want to be able to say whatever they want about you. And then when you go to reply, they laugh in your face when they go, oh, what happened? Did we get your thing deleted? It's such a spoiled brat, weak, pussy, bitch, cunt way to fucking be. But that's their attitude. And they have no shame in it. The woke left, the Antifa people, the Black Lives Matter people have no shame. They want to take these people down. They want to, Glenn Danzig said he doesn't like woke culture. Well, maybe we should force stores to not sell his music. Maybe we should get his label to drop him. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know, man. I never liked like the Backstreet Boys. Never got it. Not my thing. Still isn't my thing. I never called up Justin Timberlake's fucking label and went, I don't like him. Drop him. I hate him. I don't know. I'll use D. Snyder because D. Snyder retweeted me at BazillePaul.com. Paul Bazille Quotes is the name of it. D. Snyder was retweeting me and arguing with me over some woke bullshit a little while ago. I don't like his politics. I like Bono's politics. I've never started a campaign to ruin their lives over it. And the problem is, if you're Bono, you don't give a fuck. You're going to be rich no matter what. But if you're a mid-level band who are already having a hard time squeaking a fucking living out, like Michael Graves, a guy who just owns a regular-ass house, has a wife, has some kids, and is having a pretty, middle-class life, all of a sudden now they could ruin your fucking life. And you're not so huge that every newspaper is going to write about you. You get all your fans back overnight. It's not even a big deal. It's like, no, man, you got to bust your ass now. You gotta, you need a way to fight back. And that was the thing. That is the thing with these woke mobs. And that's why Glenn Danzig isn't alone. There's a lot of people in metal, especially metal. There's also people in punk. There's also people in just regular old music who are not woke at all, are not digging the cancel culture thing, but don't want to say a fucking word about it. They're terrified. They're terrified that people are going to ruin their fucking lives forever. They're terrified that they'll never make a fucking living again. They're terrified, and the woke mobs love that they're scaring people. Ooh, look at the power. Ooh, I can make you be obedient and submissive to me. And once upon a time in punk rock, we used to dig our fucking heels in. And we used to say, go fuck yourself. If you want to make me submit, go fuck yourself. What are you going to do? Burn my house down? I'll burn it down at a fucking spot. I'll burn my own house down while you stand on my fucking lawn, because you're not going to do this shit to me. That used to be our attitude. Now it's please, please like me, and please, please don't remove me, and please, please don't hurt me. And I think it's killing everything. Because as we've seen, it's in sports now. It's in music. It's in TV. It's in every ad you see. It's in movies. Everything is so fucking woke and sanitized. And that's why, man, I think people crave that punk rock revolution. And like Martina Markota says, conservatism is the new counterculture because it's the one taboo nowadays. Nowadays, you can do anything. Dress like a lady. Cut your dick off, have sex with a dude. You could fucking have an interracial relationship, and you should be able to do all that fucking stuff. But if you say, actually, I think I want lower taxes. Actually, I love the Constitution. I think this country's great. Patriotism is the last taboo. Saying, hey, I'm actually not a malcontent. I actually am grateful. I actually like where I'm at. And I'm grateful that I'm in a country where I could build whatever life I want because I don't think I could do this anywhere else. That is the last taboo. Gratitude. Being grateful, being patriotic, and appreciating what you have is the last frontier. Now that every other thing, and here's the thing, man, I get being weird, but these motherfuckers, these woke people, these cancel culture people, these leftists think that nonconformity ends with hair dye. They think once you dyed your hair pink, I'm different now. It's like, no, you're not. You have the same shade of fucking pink as every other dumb looking girl next to you. You're not different. You're not an individual. You have to be an individual up here. I have a lot of tattoos and I look funny and have a weird mustache and shit like that. But if I fucking took all this off, I'd still be blinging harder than any of those leftist fucking cocksuckers. I would still be more of an individual. And I guarantee if I sit down and talk with them, they've never met a motherfucker like me in their lives. And that's the problem when a guy like Glenn Danzig, a guy who's universally admired as a great singer and songwriter, a guy who's respected and has respect among each and every one of his fucking peers. He has respect for people who came before him and people who came after him. Glenn Danzig has done it fucking all, has his money, and doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. You can cancel his tour? Fuck you. I do 6 shows a year. I'll stay at home. Oh my God. Oh, I'm going to get dropped from my album? Fuck you. I'll put my album out myself. And he doesn't care. And they're going, oh, he's old. He doesn't get our community and our person. He sang songs about rape and baby murder. And it's like, yeah. Well, that's not the point. The point is he sang songs about whatever the fuck he wanted. And if it shocked you, that's your fucking problem. And if you enjoyed it, buy a ticket and check the fucking show out. That used to be the way the country worked. It was called capitalism, and it worked pretty fucking good if you ask me. But Glenn Danzig saying that woke culture is bullshit, and Glenn Danzig saying that with cancel culture, you would have never had a punk revolution, and today you can never. And that's what they're doing. Keep in mind, they dress punk, they dye their hair, they wear hoodies and patches. They're trying to look like 80s punks all fucking day. But they're not quite making it. They're not quite making it. You're not punk because you don't have this. You don't have the fucking attitude. You don't have the 1,000-yard stare. You don't know how to not give a fuck about what your friends think about you. You're more worried about if the patches on your jacket are they woke enough? Do I have the vegan one next to the unity one next to the communist flag? Nobody gave a fuck back in the day. Sid Vicious used to wear Nazi t-shirts. Was he a Nazi? Fuck no. But he knew it shocked motherfuckers. And he wanted to make you think. And he wanted to shock you. That's what it is to be a punk rocker. And what it is to be a punk rocker is what it is to be an American. And that's why it resonated so hard with people. Being a punk rocker, being a good punk rocker, and being a good American are essentially the same fucking thing. They don't have a clue. Hold on. What the authentic punk was all about. Well, you're right about that, but here's the thing. They went on record to say Glenn Danzig doesn't know what punk is all about. And Johnny Rotten and the Sex Pistols don't know what punk rock is all about. But they know. These 19-year-old kids know. And keep in mind, punk rock is supposed to be for kids. I'm happy to see kids getting into the Clash and getting into your Ramones and good. I want to be into good music. That's great because the music nowadays sucks. So be into something with a little more balls. But the problem is they don't get what it was all about and they don't get what the music was all about. Nicholas has another one. If I ever make it somewhere in music, I'd try to remember that. Always remember my roots and be grateful for what I have and not give a fuck if I offend. That's the thing, man. This is what nobody remembers these days. It's not my fault if you're offended by me. It's not my fault. Your feelings are not supposed to be my problem. That doesn't mean to go out and be a prick. But if I say something and it's how I feel and you go, well, I'm offended by how you feel. It's like, well, that's not my problem. Work on your fucking self. You know, you're allowed. I'm allowed to be offended by things. I don't get offended very often, but I'm allowed to go, oh, fuck you. But I don't go, you have to apologize and you have to think different. I'll debate the fuck out of you, but I'm not going to fucking whine about it. And these people now think punk rock is just about whining. These woke tards are the antithesis of PYBG. Absolutely. Blue hair is the most uncool thing these days. Rick Jones. Absolutely. Because everyone has it. And by the way, I have a lot of tattoos. My whole back is tattooed. My chest is tattooed. Every fucking 14-year-old girl and her little sister has full sleeve tattoos now. It's not special anymore. And it makes my shit less special. I still have some crazy shit. I hate myself written on my fucking arm. I have blood splatters with birds. I have knives and sharp objects. So I still have some weird shit. I don't go for beautiful. I go for like gritty and weird when it comes to my fucking tats personally. That's something that I don't think people do. They just always want like this beautiful rose or this beautiful portrait. And it's like, nah, my tattoos are still a little dirty. And my first tattoo was that right there. The Black Flag logo. One of my favorite bands of all time because they had balls. Black Flag is one of those bands, once you get it, everything else is bullshit. Because they didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck. They go out, and sometimes you have to keep this in mind when it comes to anything counterculture. Sometimes the point is to offend you. Sometimes in art, the point is to do something tasteless. Right? Sometimes it is to challenge your perception of something. Sometimes it's, can I paint a picture with a song that's going to gross you out or make you go, God damn. Like sometimes that's the point. And that's why Glenn Danzig is the motherfucking GOAT. And he's absolutely right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. At Paul Bazile on Twitter. At Paul Bazile on Twitter. Follow me now. Retweet me and give me a fucking shout out because I'm building my shit too. Because I'm one of those people that sometimes gets booted off Twitter. Also follow at Radio Deadly on Twitter. At Radio Deadly on Twitter. That's Michael Graves of the Misfits. Spread that around. Make a little tweet saying, please follow at Radio Deadly because Michael got fucking deplatformed. So throw it around. Tell everyone, this is the guy who sang for the fucking Misfits. He has 130 followers. Build up. Build them the fuck up. Build all these people. Blow them up. Blow them up as quick as you can and let me know how it goes. Thank you once again. Always like, comment, subscribe to my channel. But you know what? You don't have to like me. You don't have to subscribe. This conversation could be about. I fucked up my own little thing at the end. You don't have to like it. You don't have to subscribe. This conversation could be between just me and you.